And good morning, everybody. Here are your notes and a few examples for graphing quadratic equations. And we're going to be using the standard form. So just to quickly review the standard form for a quadratic, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So for a quadratic equation, you can have as many as 3 terms. You can have the variable squared, the x squared term. You can have the x to the first power term, and you can have the constant. And what makes a quadratic equation is when the highest power is a power of 2. So anything that has a x squared in it as the highest power is going to be a quadratic type equation. And you can have the first term, you could have a second term, and you can have as many as 3 terms. When we're looking at the standard form, the lead coefficient on the squared term is called a. The lead coefficient on variable x is called b, and the constant that does not have a variable, it's just a constant number, is the last number, which is the constant c. So that's the c value. And let's go ahead and look at how to make a xy value chart. We're basically going to do an input-output table. So we'll do an input-output table, and from our table of values we are going to make a graph of what a quadratic equation, or what a particular quadratic equation would look like. So let's just go ahead and do an example, and then we'll do a couple examples from your worksheet. So let's suppose we had this for a quadratic equation. Before you're working with the equation, you want to kind of establish that you know what the a, b, and c values are for the standard form. So remember, the a value is always the lead coefficient on the x squared term. So if you don't see anything there, you can always pencil in the a value as being a value of 1. You just have 1x squared. And so this would be your a value. This is going to be your b value. So in this case, b is going to equal the negative 8, the lead coefficient on the variable x. And we don't need it quite yet for what we're doing with parabolas right now for graphing. We don't need the c value, but in the future you will need to make sure you know what the c value is. So this is the c value. So c would be 2 in this case. So a is 1, b is negative 8, and c is 2. To make our graph, we just need to know the a and the b values for right now. And step 1 for making the graph, you need to kind of find where to start. You want to start in the middle of the graph. So remember, a parabola is kind of like a U shape. So we want to locate the vertex first. So to find our vertex, a few days ago we worked with an equation to find the center of the graph, the vertex, the line of symmetry. The x value is going to be opposite b over 2a. And then we just put this into the equation. So what was our b value? Our b value was negative 8. So it's going to be the negative 8. So we end up with 2 negatives in a row, so you need to watch out for that. So negative 8, because it's negative b, and b is negative 8, over 2 times the a value, and in this particular equation your a value is just 1. So up top we're going to get positive 8. If we simplify, negative 8, 2 negatives in a row, we get 8 over 2 times 1, which is 2. And simplify further, 8 divided by 2 should be 4. So this is basically letting us know where to start our input-output chart. So now we need to make a input-output chart to make our ordered pairs. So we need to make our ordered pairs x comma y. And we know that the middle of the graph is going to be at where x is 4. So right in the middle of my chart, I'm going to put my x value of 4. And then we're going to want to find a couple ordered pairs that come before when x is 4 and a couple ordered pairs that come after x is 4. So what are some numbers that are after the number 4? We can just use whole integers. So we'll go ahead and say that this is going to be 5 and 6. And what are a couple x values that would be before an x value of 4? That could be 3 and 2. And what we're going to do is input these 5 different values into the equation and see what the corresponding y value is. You did this on IXL.com the other day where you completed the function table. So we're just going to plug and chug, put these values in, and see what we get for ordered pairs. So let's make some room to do that. And the first x value, let's go ahead and actually do the ordered pair at the vertex. It doesn't really matter what order you do this in. So let's put 4 into the equation for x and see what we get for a corresponding y value. So it's going to be y equals, the x value is going to be 4. So it's going to be 4 squared minus 8. And again, the x value is 4. And then plus 2. And then you want to work out the arithmetic. So y equals 4 squared should get you 16. Negative 8 times 4 is a negative 32. And then plus 2. And if we do 16 minus 32 and then plus 2, that should get us a negative 14. So when x is 4, the output y is negative 14. So that's going to be negative 14. And remember, this is going to be where our vertex is. So that's going to be the ordered pair at the center of the graph. And then you just want to complete the 2 points before it and the 2 points after it. So let's go ahead and plug in the next x value. Let's plug in a 3. So we'll say y equals 3 squared minus 8 times 3 plus 2. So y equals 9 minus 24 plus 2. And 9 minus 24 plus 2 should get you negative 13. So that will be our y value when x is 3. And then let's go do the x value for 2. So we get y equals, 2 is going to go in for x, so it will be 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 2. So 2 squared would be 4. Minus 8 times 2, that's negative 16, plus 2. And y would be negative 10. If you do the 4 minus 16 plus 2, you get negative 10. So that would be our y value here. And then we need to do where x is 5. So y equals, put a 5 in for x, so it's going to be 5 squared minus 8 times 5 plus 2. So y equals 25 minus 40 plus 2. And y would be negative 13. So 25 minus 40 plus 2 should get you negative 13. And then the last one, when x is 6. So we'll say y equals x squared, and x is 6 in this case, minus 8 times 6 plus 2. So y should equal 36 minus 48 plus 2, and work that out, and we should get negative 10. So these are our 5 ordered pairs that will help us make a picture of this graph. So the middle ordered pair, that's going to be the vertex right here, and then we'll plot 2 points to the left and 2 points to the right. So let's make some room and we'll make a quick graph of this. And we'll just kind of do a quick sketch by hand. When you guys do this, you'll have graph paper or some graphs on your worksheet where you can put in these values. So let's go ahead and make a x and a y axis. And I'm going to go kind of high because I have to go into some pretty large negative numbers on the y scale. So let's put our x-axis kind of up here. So this is our horizontal scale, our x-axis, and this is our y-axis. And where's the center of the graph? The center of the graph is at 4, negative 14. So we're going to need to go to the right 4 on the x. And then we're going to have to go down 14 on the y, so it's down pretty far. But let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to run out of room. Let's fix this. Alright, let's try that again and see if we can keep this on the page. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's negative 14 on the y-axis. And what was the first point? It was at 4, negative 14. So you want to go over 4, down 14. That's going to be your first point. And remember, that's the vertex, that's the center of the graph. Some of the IXL.com modules are wanting you to find the minimum of the graph. This is the minimum value. The lowest it goes is negative 14. Everything else is above it. And let's plot another point. So let's plot 3, negative 13. So we'll go over 3 and down 13. Maybe right about there. And let's do the 2, negative 10. So let's see, where's the negative 10? So it looks like right here is negative 10. And we're at 2, negative 10, so you would have an ordered pair right about there. And let's do the next one. We'll go 5. So that's going to be 5 and 6. So remember, this was 4 on the x, so this would be 5 and this would be 6. So we'll go 5, negative 13. So that one would be over here. And then we will go 6, negative 10. So that would be kind of roughly over here. So you guys will have graph paper and a grid system that you can work on, but basically you're just plotting these points, and then that is going to be your sketch of your parabola. So it's going to be a U-shape, a parabola that passes through these points. So try to make it like a curve, and it would keep on going indefinitely. And that's going to be your sketch. What you're really focused on are these 5 key points that we plotted. And when we do the next example, we'll have some graph paper. But that's the big idea. You're going to find the middle. That's going to be your vertex, and then you're going to go kind of 2 x values before it and 2 x values after it, and then plot your ordered pairs. One way to kind of double check your work, notice that there's some symmetry around the center. Since this is the center of the graph, notice it goes -13, then -10, and then if you went one unit in each direction, in the other direction, it's -13 and -10. So if you're not seeing that symmetry, if your x values are changing by 1, then you might have a miscalculation in one of your values. And let's go ahead and do an example off the worksheet. So here's one of the examples. We'll do one on one page and then one on another page. So it looks like the first one we have is number 1. So let's look at this one. So job 1, we want to find the vertex, the center of the graph. So let's do the vertex. We know it's going to be at where x is opposite b over 2a. So remember, the b value is that middle coefficient. So the b value is 6, so it's going to be -6 over 2 times the a value. So 2, and then the a value is right in front of the x squared. If there's nothing there, then it's just a 1. So x is going to be -6 divided by 2, which is -3. And if we do our chart, then x is going to be -3. And then pick a couple numbers after -3, so -2, -1, and a few numbers before it, -4, -5. And we'll plug these 5 numbers into our equation and see what the corresponding y values are. So let's start with the vertex. We can do -3. So it's going to be a -3 squared plus 6 times -3 plus 10. And then we can go ahead and compute this. You need to watch out for the -3 squared, because that's a -3 times a -3, which is a positive number. Negative times negative is positive 9 minus 18 plus 10. And if we do 9 minus 18 plus 10, that should get us 1. So the y value when x is -3 is 1. And then we want to go do the other values. So we'll do the -4. So we'll put in -4. So y equals x is going to be -4, so it's -4 squared plus 6 times -4 plus 10. And we'll do the arithmetic on this. -4 squared, that's a negative times a negative, so it's positive, so positive 16 minus 24 plus 10. And 16 minus 24 plus 10, that should get you 2. So there's your second point. And then we'll do when x is -5. So -5 squared plus 6 times -5 plus 10. So y equals -5 squared, that should be positive 25. 6 times -5 is -30 plus 10. And 25 minus the 30 plus the 10 should get you 5. So there's our third point. And let's go do where x is -2. So y equals negative 2 is going to go in for x, so it's going to be negative 2 squared plus 6 times negative 2 for x plus 10. So y equals negative 2 squared. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12 plus 10. And 4 minus 12 plus 10 should get you 2. And here's kind of that symmetry that I was talking about a second ago. Notice right before negative 3, your y is 2, and right after it, it's 2. So that should be kind of the symmetry. So if we're doing things correctly, we should expect this one right here to be 5 if we're doing our arithmetic all correct. So let's just try it and confirm that everything is working out okay. So we'll say y equals, put in a negative 1, so it's going to be negative 1 for x, and x is being squared, plus 6 times negative 1, plus 10. So y equals 1, positive 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6, plus 10. And if we do 1 minus 6 plus 10, we should get 5. So there is our input-output table. So we're going to go plot these ordered pairs and put these on the graph. And let's plot the first one. So we'll do the negative 3 comma positive 1 ordered pair. So we want to go negative 3 on the x and 1 on the y. And the next one we'll do the negative 4 comma 2. So find negative 4 on the x and 2 on the y. And then we'll do the negative 5 comma 5. So find negative 5 on the x and 5 on the y. And then we'll do the negative 2 comma 2. And the negative 1 comma 5. So there are your 5 key points, and then you can kind of do your best to sketch in a smooth curve that passes through those points. And that should be the graph of your quadratic. So notice this is the vertex. If you're asked what the vertex is, that's the vertex. IXL.com was also asking you for the minimum, so that's where the minimum is going to occur, at the vertex. That's the bottom of the graph. And then the axis of symmetry is that vertical line right here where you have that vertex. We called that the axis of symmetry. And let's go ahead and do one more graph. So this is number 2 in your worksheet. And let's go ahead and find the center. So let's find the vertex. And remember, the vertex is going to happen at opposite B over 2A. So it's going to be negative, and what's the B value? So the B value is that middle term on the variable x. So the B value is negative 6. So it's negative the B value, and the B value is negative 6. So we get 2 negatives in a row. Over 2 times the A value. And the A value is the lead coefficient on the squared term. So if there's nothing there, it's just a 1. So we get negative 6, which is positive 6, over 2 times 1, which is 2, and that's going to get you 3. So x equals 3 is where we would expect to see the vertex, the center of the graph. And then we want to pick a few x values beyond 3 and a few x values before 3. So if we start at 3, what's a little bit beyond 3? That'd be 4, and then 5. And what are a couple numbers before the number 3? That would be 2 and 1. And then we can just plug these into our equation. So remember, for this one we're working with question 2. We're working with this equation. So let's go ahead and plug that in. So it's going to be y equals x squared, and let's do the vertex number. So let's put in a 3. So it's going to be 3 squared minus 6 times the x value, which is 3, plus 13. And 3 squared, that's 3 times 3, that should get you 9, minus 18 plus 13. And 9 minus 18 plus 13 should get you 4. So that's going to be our y value. So 4. And let's put in another x value, so let's put in 2. So y equals, we'll put in an x value of 2, so since it's x squared, it's going to be 2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus 13. So again, these x values are just going right into the equation. So that's going to get you 4 minus 12 plus 13. And if we work that out, that should get us, it looks like, 5. So we can put 5 into the chart. And let's do where x is 1. So y equals, put a 1 in for x, so 1 squared minus 6 times the x value, which is 1, plus 13. 1 squared is 1, negative 6 times 1 is negative 6, plus the 13. And 1 minus the 6 plus the 13 should get you 8. So y is 8. And then we'll do the 4. So y equals, the x value is 4, so it should be 4 squared minus 6 times the 4 plus 13. So y will be 4 times 4, that's 16, minus 6 times 4, that's 24, plus 13. And 16 minus 24 plus 13 is 5. So there's 5, and then one more x value. We'll do where x is 5. So y equals x squared, and the x is 5 in this case, minus 6 times 5 plus 13. 5 squared should be 25, minus 6 times 5, which is 30, plus the 13. And if we do that out, y should be 8. And there's our ordered pairs. Now we just need to go plot these ordered pairs. So the first one, let's do the vertex first. So we'll do the 3, 4. So x is 3, y is 4. And then we'll do 2, 5, x is 2, y is 5. And then the 1, 8, x is 1, y is 8. The 4, 5, x is 4, y is 5. And the 5, 8, x is 5, y is 8. And there's your 5 key points. And then just do your best to kind of sketch in a smooth curve that follows that. I'm not going to judge you on your artistic ability. I'm going to be, grading you on your actual numerical values. So making sure you can get those exact ordered pairs and plot those points. And just do the best job you can trying to sketch in a smooth curve. And that should be your graph for that particular quadratic equation. After this, you guys will have some problems that you're going to do out of the worksheet. So these are going to be for you to do, and then at some point I will show you how to upload these into a Google Sheet to kind of give me your answers. But for today, let's just focus on the video and getting started on this particular worksheet.